Uh, yes. Hello again, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is a webinar that I've been waiting myself for a long time. I was talking with Jack about this since this summer. Last summer, 2023 summer. We were both at an event on a private island in Croatia called Baby Bathwater. And Jack had one of his mind-blowing presentations, at least for me. I say one of his because he gave a few other presentations that I was fortunate enough to participate in, and they were mind-blowing for me too. So I was um, so excited when Jack finally said, "This date is okay." Fuck yeah. Because I will let Jack introduce himself in a second, but for me, Jack is one of the smartest people I know, one of the most courageous people I know, and one that can put these two together very well by having a lot of direct experiences in life, and then with understanding and with even humility, I guess, how I see it, to explain it to others, to share what he understands with others, and he does this through a lens of a scientist, sometimes mad scientist, and I appreciate him a lot as as a friend, as uh, kind of the guy that opens the path for other people, because sometimes balance, from my opinion, is at the extremes. And I believed I lived an extreme life, or a very unconventional life, until I met Jack. Jack has been pushing these boundaries and these limits to new extremes for me. And I enjoy spending time with Jack and with people like this. It's so good, so refreshing, so um, enlightening. Yes. I am in India right now. This is my background in India. I don't have my professional microphone with me. I am spending time with an enlightened guru. I was talking with Jack about this right now. And yes, this is a very freestyle webinar for me. We haven't talked about exactly what we're going to talk about, and gave him the questions before. This is just to probe in Jack's mind and maybe get a glimpse of the future, get a glimpse of how technology, AI, consciousness, and everything in between will come to us in this realm. Yes. So, Jack, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. And thank you for your wonderful world and energy as usual, Alex.
Where are you?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So I guess this is a pretty global event between Europe, Asia, and the Southern Hemisphere.
Yes, yes. I'm like in the middle. And you know what? It's very weird that India, or at least where I am now, it's and a half. Like the time difference is not 2 hours, it's not 3 hours, it's 2 hours and a half, for example. Or with
Right,
Romania,
yeah.
it's 3 hours and a half. And with the other side of the world, like with Bali, it's 2 hours and a half. Like, what the fuck is going on, man? Where am I? And what do we think about time? And how, like, what is this, man? Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure AI will find a way to automate time zones as well. And maybe we won't need to bother anymore. Who knows?
So give us a short bio, something about this avatar that you are playing in this world.
Okay, so I am a bunch of different things, starting from scientist. I'm faculty at Melbourne University in the Department of Pharmacology. I'm a neuroscientist. My PhD is in neuroscience, studying altered states of consciousness, starting from sleep and combined with machine learning, artificial intelligence. So computational neuroscience on trying to categorize and understand altered states of consciousness from a computational point of view. And so I invented an algorithm, a classifier, a machine learning classifier during my PhD that became quite successful at resolving a number of problems within neuroscience, within consciousness research, starting from sleep to psychedelic science and ecophysiology, so consciousness in wild animals, epilepsy, all of these different things. So then I managed to take my intellectual property out of the university and found my own company, which licenses my technology to universities and pharmaceutical companies to automate and augment the data analytics for consciousness research. So that's one thing that I have done now for a while. I turned commercial with this in 2017. And I collaborate and help with several projects related to consciousness research in Europe, US, and Australia across many verticals from, yeah, as I said, sleep, psychedelic science, and different altered states like epilepsy, as well as trying to understand artificial intelligence itself and its relationship with consciousness. Because of this, I'm constantly speaking on these subjects around the world in different forums. And I also have provided consulting to universities and private companies to try to understand better the landscape when it comes to artificial intelligence, automation, as well as neuroscience. So what this means at the level of mental health and psychology, and eventually more and more at the level of how humans cooperate with one another, the future of work, and all of these integrated subjects. I also have had a pretty passionate history on psychedelic science, starting from 2008 when I started doing research in pharmaceuticals with psychedelics in animals. So I have subjected myself to almost, I would say, all is a big word, but the vast majority of altered states of consciousness I have tried to sample and see what kind of benefits it could bring into my life. And those I know. And I've also worked as a consultant and a trainer to entrepreneurs and CEOs and company founders, to try to implement altered states of consciousness in their own life, and how to leverage all of these disruptive technologies, starting from psychedelics to artificial intelligence in their own life and business.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Just before we go on, you had some slides in Croatia. Do you still have them, or do you have them ready, or stuff like that, or we think we can just freestyle?
I have slides. That, yeah, I mean, that took, yeah, that took like an hour and a half last time, or no more. It took almost 2 hours. So I could bring some of the slides in, and you could ask me questions. Otherwise, it's going to be me speaking for a long time, and trying to recover the flow of that. It's been a while since I presented it.
Yeah,
What
I
would you
hear
like?
you. I mean, there was hmm, there was a chart that I remember about well, it was like four quadrants
Easy. Yeah. I can bring that up.
with
Um,
the jobs.
yeah. Um, I the jobs no, where is it? Um, can you see my slides?
Not yet.
Not yet. 1 second. Oh, and let's have a look. Uh, this is not it.
Let me check the chat again. So I did something wrong. Chat every allow attendees to chat with everyone. Oh yeah, I did it now. I didn't do it before, but I did it now, guys. Yes, so good. If you want to chat now, you have this
Oh,
power.
I
Yeah.
think this should work now. Try again. Boom. Okay.
Oh yeah,
So
baby.
okay, so this is actually an outdated chart from I think 2017 or 2018. The ex CEO of Google China put this together, Kai-Fu. Um, Google China has since disappeared because it wasn't having a good relationship with the government, so Google exited China. But the ex-CEO is a very capable person that understands disruption very well. And he put together this chart where a different assortment of job categories were arranged according to 4 different traits, whether they are social, whether they are optimization based or a social or creativity based. And he dissected jobs into 4 different categories. Those that would be very much in danger of AI automation, then those that will take a little bit longer to be automated, but they're still going to be replaced eventually. And then those that are harder to automate because they deeply rely on the human factor. And then a category that he saw as safe in terms of automation. And we can try to understand the job market a little bit better by looking at this, even though I believe that this is now outdated. So in the danger zone, those are the most intuitive of professions that an algorithm can address very well, very fast, like analyzing images, like a radiologist trying to look for tumors or things like that. Algorithms have already been observed to be much better than humans in doing. So those jobs are going to vanish very soon. Customer service representative, a way like ChatGPT can be trained on all of the questions that they've ever been asked to a company that has a database of them, and then that's it. Customer service representative is gone unless the company really sees the value of having a human doing this. But In terms of voice, AI is getting very good at generating credible discourses with the right accent and everything and tempo. So there's no reason to really have those jobs much, right? And those jobs are tricky because these workers have working hours, and instead those customer representatives based on AI can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at Christmas and New Year's, and nobody's going to really compete with anything like that. Then, of course, accountants and bookkeepers, unless one is really keen on breaking the law and having an accountant that's going to lie, anything, but maybe there's going to be an AI that can lie as well. So we don't know. But anyway, insurance adjusters, basic translators, of course. The translators, people never really thought that that was going to be in danger, but if 100 years ago you learned how to translate from Mongolian to Dutch, yeah, you'd always have a job at either embassy at least, or finding very specific positions, and you're not even going to be in much competition. And it would take years to prepare something like that. So it's really going to chase after you. Well, now, yeah, that's it. A simple tweak of a large language model can make that job completely redundant. And that's a big deal. Telemarketers, of course. I mean, there's countless of jobs that are very much in the danger zone. And it's very interesting how in the past, people were very afraid that automation would come for,
White collar, white collar.
yeah, exactly, like, or for people, yeah, just working in factories. So the robots are going to come and do all the things, but intelligence and creativity is going to be preserved. But now it's actually happening in the very opposite order. Anything that is based on intelligence is becoming disruptive, while robotics is taking a little bit longer. And anything that needs to deal with the 3D world is a lot harder to disrupt. So, funnily enough, some of the experts are betting all their money that the jobs that are going to be the hardest to displace are, for instance, plumbers, right? Because plumbers have to work things in a very specific way, improvise and reach into very awkward positions, and have to recognize a variety of things that are unusual, some common sense, and it's not easy to automate and standardize something like being a plumber. And so nobody would have thought that that was a safe job 50 years ago. If anything, that was considered an unsafe job. Well, now, being a plumber is an insurance policy for a lot of people. Yeah, so things that rely on fine control, yeah, will be harder to disrupt, even though those things are also getting a lot better, like surgeons, for example. Now there's robots that can do surgery very well. And I have seen videos of robots doing surgery that is absurd, like managing to peel like an egg from its shell, but without cooking it. So being able to remove the hard shell from the very soft membrane underneath, that's even hard for a human. And robots can really do that kind of thing. They can do surgery on mice, and so, but the interesting thing is that with surgery, you have a specific station, all of the cameras. And with a plumber, it's not easy to really do that kind of stuff. So that's an example. So things like SEO, those jobs are going to vanish very soon. Things like web design, one person is going to be able to do almost all of it with a few prompts. And yeah, it's not really, it doesn't make as much sense to hire someone. And an AI can split test all of the possible positions of all of the buttons to maximize conversion and learn where the person is looking and clicking, and humans are not going to be able to compete with anything like that. Drop shipping as well, very tricky because all of these things are all inside the machine. And none of them require knowledge that only a few people have. These are all things that can be iterated over and over. So the original producer of whatever goods is going to be able to plug into automated marketing machines and not need any middleman. So everything is just going to be taken back to the source. And interestingly, even the source is going to become disrupted. Like we have all of these production facilities in China, in Vietnam, and when you think about it, none of that is really going to be relevant. Nobody wants to really at heart, nobody wants to do business with the Chinese or Madagascar or Cambodia. These are all very awkward jurisdictions. People do business with them because it's convenient. But if a production facility could be run in a room in Budapest, in Washington, in wherever, because it's all more or less automated, then it's all a matter of how much electricity costs in one place or the other. And ultimately, people don't even really trust to have any kind of manufacturing being done in China because they know that the workers themselves are just going to reverse engineer everything and make it cheaper and disrupt everything. So it's going to be in everyone's best interest to just make everything at home. So globalization is going to be reversed with incredible repercussions in terms of geopolitics and unrest, but that's a conversation for another time. But everything is going to change with AI in ways
Timeline.
that.
What's the timeline for this? When I last heard this from you was about 6 months ago, and I also listened to a guy. His name is Mo Gaudat. He was the CEO of Google X, and he wrote a book called Scary Smart, where he talks about how AI is no longer just an artificial intelligence, is an alien intelligence. It's just something outside that is just just much more intelligent and much more intelligent than us, and also growing at a rapid speed. And at the same time, in the last 6 months, I personally didn't feel that we're moving as fast as I thought we will. I feel it was more of a hype a few months ago, and now that it's not over, we're still moving, but it's not, from my perception, not as fast as I thought we will. What do you think?
Well, first and foremost, there is a certain speed in adoption for things. With AI, we still have the problem that people have to learn how to do the prompts. So we are in a situation where we've been walking all our lives, and now there's cars, and they've just appeared out of nowhere. It's not easy to just use cars if nobody really teaches you how to use a car. Or, yeah, like a crane or an excavator. There is that lag in learning with really no prior knowledge of technology. This is where we're at. Like AI can already do jobs that are that require remarkable education. Like ChatGPT can spit out reports about such and such that before were really, really boutique, and we can learn very fast. And so in terms of that kind of job, yeah, we already are in a bit of a situation. There is already swarms of drones flying through forests. That is above and beyond complex. Then the issue is that people still need to know what to do with it. Now it's still kind of academic, but within these labs or within these proof of concept projects, everything seems to work. And these things just keep improving week by week. And new things are coming up. But we are in a situation where all of these car manufacturers are popping out of existence, and they're making that car, and that car, and that car. But people still don't really trust the cars or know how to drive them. But this is not even something that will take some time to be available. This is already available. It's more that people haven't adjusted quick enough. So in terms of date, like um,
Let
time,
me pause you for a second. We have a question about your volume. Do you have headphones or an alternative to your microphone now?
hmm, I'm trying to work out where my microphone even is. I I think I have another microphone, but I haven't really. Oh, what about now? Is it
Oh,
better?
yeah,
Oh,
much better.
yeah, much. Cool,
But I
cool.
can also hear
Yes.
myself in the echo now, or am I? No, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. No, it's totally fine now. No, no, it was just a split second.
So it really depends on the industry in terms of timelines. And then we can have a debate. But timelines in general doesn't mean anything. Like for people that make logos, the timeline is now. Like you,
Yeah.
now you can just go. Like I even did it myself with one of my things. I just like your logo now and didn't even need to use Midjourney or anything. There's already like a company that you just type and then it gives you like 50 different styles. And in 5 seconds, you have 500 possible logos and they look good as well. So
Yeah.
that's it. Right? That's done. Um, for translators, it's done already. Like what then in terms of timeline, what kind of work are we looking in for? Like,
I mean, as maybe general adoption, we can call it, when people start driving the car, when people are aware that this is a solution for their walk, instead of walking somewhere, they realize as a group consciousness, as the we planetary thing, we say, fuck, this thing is really going to change our lives. Besides the people on YouTube, besides people like you that are talking at conferences and kind of not warning people, maybe warning is not a good word, but addressing these issues and telling them that it's gonna come, but people just they go back to their normal life. When do you think there's going to be like an inflection point, like from when things really start to get weird, like a point when if you would go into a dark retreat for a month and you come out, it will be a totally different world. Do you think this can happen, or it's still going to be at a reasonable pace, like normal pace that we can all adjust to.
No, the pace is just going to accelerate. And the only thing that is going to adjust the pace will be law. It won't be technology, it will be law. Because anything that is wildly disruptive will bring an incentive to the government to slow it down or block it. So there's already people in the US that are advocating for the banning of self-driving vehicles because they don't want truck drivers to be automated, because apparently there is a lot of them. And if truck drivers get automated, the transition doesn't look very pretty. Usually these people riot or block highways, or you don't just automate something like this. When you
Yeah,
see, when they see their jobs just collapsing by 15 or 20% a year, they'll start to fuck shit up. And they then we default to violence again. So this happens regularly, even with Uber. In many countries, the taxi drivers just blocked everything.
yeah,
For example, in Italy, Uber is still illegal. You cannot get an Uber in Italy. Like in Milan, that's it. Only Milan and maybe Rome, they found, like anywhere else, you have to call a fucking taxi in 2024. There's no taxi. You have to call a number and wait for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Why? Because the taxi drivers literally mounted a riot. They were like just
yeah.
fucking shit up. So
Going
then it
back to what
becomes
you
like,
said, what you said also about the law, I was thinking that also for the self-driving cars, it's a matter of who takes the blame. If something bad happens and there's an accident and the truck goes into a school bus and kills some kids, whose fault is it?
yeah, well, this is going to default more to human feelings, because a person is easier to blame than an algorithm.
Yeah,
Algorithms make mistakes all the time, right? But they don't often kill people. When people get killed, then it becomes like, how are human emotions gonna deal with it? I think the inflection point will be where algorithms will be mathematically proven to be 20 times safer than humans. Then at that point, there will be like a shift in the psychology. The government is going to educate the population that even if the robots kill people in the streets, the numbers are just so wildly evident that they're just going to force it. And but by that point, the technology will be incredible. It will be like so obvious that people should just give the power up. I'm not worried about that. The trolley scenarios is not what I am particularly worried about. Also because the cognition of people just keeps going down. People are getting dumber and dumber every year. The IQ is now going down every year slightly after going up forever. So like the Flynn effect, where we saw intelligence going up and up, is now flatlining or slightly decreasing. So people will get to a point that they won't trust themselves driving as much as an algorithm, and they'll be like, "Well, just let the machine drive because I'm not as good." And this is already the case for a lot of professions. Like people don't really question if the car is giving out some alarms or some issues. They just bring it to a mechanic and they're like, just let them do it. Or very often even pilots are very happy putting things on autopilot because the autopilot doesn't fall asleep. So they'll be just like 80% of the job. I'll just during takeoff and landing, I'll take control. So it's happening more and more that people are just giving it up because people feel dumber and dumber because things are becoming so complex and so esoteric that if a phone broke 50 years ago, people would be tempted to open it up and see what happened. Maybe a cable broke or something like that. If your mobile phone stops working, what are you going to do? Yeah, fuck. It's going to be like, it's becoming so daunting. Like there's this meme that made me laugh a lot that like 30 years ago, manuals in cars taught people how to change the fuse. Like that would just burn to
Yeah.
change such a or change the light. While now the manual in the car mostly tells people not to drink the acid in the battery. It's really starting to become disturbing how retarded things have been. I have found an image that is mind blowing. Actually, it's on my phone, but I'm gonna try to send it to myself so that you can see it. Like the exams for an eighth grader in 1914, something like that. Um, and I was like, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. The kind of things that people assumed children should just be able to answer to buy to eighth grade. That's nothing. That's like children. It's not university or high school. It's eighth grade. So yeah, you need to see this. Like stupidity in people is accelerating in an incredible way. So it's not just that machines are becoming more intelligent. It's also people are getting dumber. And this is like two cars driving in opposite directions. Like, yeah, look at this. This is the kind of knowledge
Wait, we
that,
can't see it yet.
yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah,
we're
yeah, no, it's
still
coming.
seeing
Yeah,
the
look at this.
quadrants. Okay.
So, arithmetics. Write in words the following, even those numbers written in words, not easy. Eh? That's just the first question. Or like the third question is kind of a joke. Find the cost at 12 cents and a half per square yard of calcining the walls of a room of 20 feet long, 16 feet wide, 9 feet high, deducting one for the
One door.
doors and for the windows. What? Like, look at that. Children are supposed to answer that. I have no fucking clue how to do that. There is a chance that even ChatGPT would struggle in doing the convert. This is messy. That's very messy. Like,
Wow.
then there's like, I find an amount of $50 and 30 for 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days at 8 cents. What does that even mean? Like, if you look at the questions for grammar, um, what properties are verbs, all these questions, change the voice of the verb, geography, define longitude and latitude. That seems easy. But if I
Yeah.
ask you, what is longitude? What is longitude? It's kind of like, you kind of know, but yeah, I'm not sure, the actual definition of longitude. Like what? Tell me what you know of the Gulf Stream. Yeah, wind somewhere. That's all I can tell. This is fucked up. You read all of these questions, and they're all kind of daunting. And this is just for children. 1912. They didn't even have the internet. They didn't have Google. They didn't have anything.
So,
So
do you think that there's a big movement now to change the educational system to make it obsolete, the old one? From my perspective, it's also good to not let kids memorize all the things and they need to do a lot of the stuff that they won't ever need. And at the same time, we have this thing about intelligence that you are mentioning. Do you think it's correlated with what people should be taught in educational systems?
Okay, this is a massive question. Like the main issue with this is that it's all about outcome and power. So if we want to build a skyscraper or engineer a nuclear plant, then people need to be able to do it. And people don't necessarily need to know how a phone works. They just need to use it. Okay, this is all fine. However, there is the issue that people understand less and less technology and understand less and less even the outcome. People are becoming dumber, even at pattern recognition. This because humans are changing rapidly the way they work from being an integrator to being an indexing system. Now, most of the intelligence is knowing where to find the information and leverage that for an outcome. So people don't really know where everything is anymore. They ask Google Maps, but at heart, they don't really know how to navigate. So that part of the brain is getting smaller and smaller. It is. We know that. It's getting smaller and smaller. So all of the bandwidth that before was deployed towards knowing stuff is just going towards knowing where to find it. And sometimes that's very disempowering because that means that within you, you cannot make that fast switching and fast integration. There's always the lag on you asking a machine. And then there is the separation between your hands, the translation of the prompt, and getting the result back. When we'll have like Neuralink, it will be faster. But now there's still like, we still have to use fingers. We still have to speak. And if we are that dumb that we don't know anything, we are going to default to that interface, to the speed of that interface. And the fact that we're not holding on anything anymore inside. When it's inside, in terms of knowledge, it's fast. It's super, in fact, it's immediate. And the integrations are super fast. When you have to put everything into a machine, for certain things is easier, but for very complex creative things, not really. So then we are just devolving everyone into drones. They can execute on very specific things, and that's it, because they don't really know about anything else. That has radical implications. And this is why the IQ is going down. IQ is something that you always want, even with or without technology. But even pattern recognition is going down because people are not training anything anymore. They're not doing any kind of effort other than very specific ones in terms of finding information and trying to find an outcome. But that distance is getting wider and wider. So the geniuses of the past, Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, all these people, Darwin, all of these people were tortured as children because they came from wealthy families and they just forced them to learn everything. Ancient Greek, fencing, philosophy, math, all the random shit possible. This equipped them with so much random knowledge that then they could make these incredible realizations. Now, people are nowhere near that kind of support. And they were taught one-on-one by very capable teachers, the best in the countries, and they were all tutored. Well, now that is not really the case anymore. In fact, There is all this knowledge available on YouTube, virtually any degree you want. But this is not really translating into more geniuses. In fact, the geniuses are going down. This is being calculated. The incidence of genius grade intelligence in people is collapsing. Everyone is becoming very average. And I think that's one of the reasons. People are not challenged anymore to know stuff and apply themselves. And because of that, they're becoming more and more like machines themselves, like switchboards. They're a little bit like switchboards. Like 80 years ago, you'd get a phone call and there's this person on the other end just moving things from one to the other. This is how human intelligence is evolving to be mostly a switchboard. And the intelligence is being all delegated to the machine. Eventually, this is going to hit the fan in spectacular ways. And in fact, even in the US, when people ask random questions to strangers, people don't know anything about anything. They don't even know like where London is, or they have no idea what, you know, what's sugar, or like all this basic stuff. They are becoming more and more like operators of TikTok and whatnot. Like this is, that test, I'm pretty sure, is from an American school. Like no chance now. People in America have zero, almost like it's terrible.
Yeah.
And this is changing the very fabric of everything, even at the level of morality and politics. Since now it's become so easy to do things because of the machines, even the imperative that made workers very important because of their attributes is becoming less important. So then woke ideology becomes more relevant. Now, anyone that is very tall or very short or this or that can do stuff with a computer. So more or less for certain things. So then we've kind of forgotten certain attributes that make certain groups better at certain things than others. So then the more disempowered groups over history are coming back with a vengeance and be like, everybody's the same. So meritocracy is being destroyed now in service of equality. And that's one of the reasons is technology. Technology has come as a tool to flatten the landscape. Now, everyone is as good as one another in a way that makes us forget what makes some humans better than others. Like to pilot planes a few years ago, or even now, you need to have perfect vision. Perfect. Not even like a little bit. No glasses, no contact lenses, no bullshit. Perfect vision. But now, if you are a drone operator, nobody cares. You can have glasses. So then, at some point, that becomes so strong, this effect, that people, even with like massive, thick glasses, are going to be like, we are as good as people that see perfectly. And there's not going to be evidence for the contrary, which then is going to drive evolution down in itself. So now, artificial intelligence and automation is disrupting everything at the level of biology. In a few years, natural selection is going to be looking like nothing what it's looked so far. All of the traditional metrics of partner selection and survival out of the window. And this is already starting to be observed in the data, that humans are not really evolving like they used to anymore. Genetic diseases are on the rise, all sorts of deformations, all sorts of bizarre diseases are skyrocketing, because we don't really value that kind of stuff anymore, because we can get shit done too easily. Does this make sense?
Yes, a lot. What about monetary system? What about how we give meaning to making something in the world, and how the Western civilization is built on this, and how will AI interfere or change this completely?
It's going to be a complete shit show because I said intelligence before, but I didn't talk about power. That's another problem.
Yeah.
Like if Apple decides that they don't like you, they could destroy your life. If you use iPhones and computers, they could just be like, poof, all erased, can't use an Apple product anymore. Your history is gone. If Google and Apple don't like you, you cease to be a human, basically. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, imagine, right? You,
Yeah.
it's like you lose your passport in a foreign country. You're gonna be like, oh, like, imagine if both Apple and Google. So this is actually happening to some politically exposed people in some countries. Is that Google just cancels all their accounts, and imagine if you're even doing the login into other websites using your Gmail or your, you know, log in with my email kind of thing. You can't log in into anything anymore either. Like your digital avatar gets murdered. And that is just done with like a little finger, just done. It could be done even by accident, or it could be like a cyber attack from Iran or something, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like you lost two kidneys, not even one, two. You have like 2 hours to go before you die. So power is the other issue, and with money, that's massive. If AI is going to automate everything, and we even stop being able to use hard cash or commodities
Do you have a
or
slide about this? I remember you had something about this on the presentation.
I don't remember about what.
Yeah. About how fuck. It was related to this, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, I remember there was a big part of your talk about this.
I think it's scattered across many
Yeah.
slides.
All right. Okay,
Um,
no worries then. You can also stop sharing then from this. Let's just see each other.
yes, 1 second. Um, yeah, no, this is like a very complex and interconnected problem. And there's also opportunities, of course. A lot of things are going to become easier. A lot of things are going to become cheaper. Um, but five, not five, like 7, 10 years, 15 years, God knows. 20 years, completely unpredictable. And
You think
people,
that's because AI will take over majority of jobs, and then people will not be able to do anything in the world, like to make themselves useful. This idea that you are doing something in the world so that you yourself are at service. You are happy with what you're doing. You're contributing in a way. You need to find the thing that you love doing, so that you are a good citizen, so that you are happy with your life.
yeah, I mean, it's going to become increasingly harder to understand what we like about the world and ourselves. Also, because our attention span is collapsing. That's another metric in intelligence that out of the window. So I did Vipassana a few months ago, and that may as well been like, they told me I could not breathe for 15 minutes. Like, I couldn't use my phone, and that was giving me heroin-like withdrawals. I literally the pain in my chest. I have tried hundreds of different drugs. I've tried heroin, like you name it. Easy. All of that stuff is easy compared with the internet.
Yeah.
So
I feel the addiction myself. I talk often about it. Yeah.
yeah, so imagine, right? And this is now, the phones are good, but they're not that good, right? Like they're okay. But when we have like the visor, which everything is like very quick, like eventually reality is going to become so bland. Like these devices are engineered at the level of the shade of blue they use to maximize engagement, and it's becoming increasingly better and split tested and iterated. Reality can't compete anymore, especially for 99% of the population who can't just travel to India,
India.
or they can't just they can't do anything. They're wage slaves. So it's hard. Like like, of course, a phone, of course, TikTok is the best thing they can do. Anything else, the opportunity cost, the barrier to entry is crazy. So that then is going to drive media, culture. Even if you look at children cartoons, occasionally I stumble upon it. They're disturbingly retarded. Like when I grew up, some of their cartoons were teaching about the body, diseases, biology. Now everything is a bit like the Teletubbies. There's just there's no real education there. They're all like kind of, so that is a massive issue. That how are we going to have really the space to introspect at any point in the future? When are we going to have the sovereignty to be actually separated from the nexus that is the internet? If when we are unplugged from it, we have an identity crisis within 20 minutes. In some studies, people preferred being electrocuted than being
Yeah, I
away
saw
from
that
their
too.
phone.
Yeah.
Electrocuted, right? That's fucked up. Like, there's no animals that enjoy that. And we are
There's one
like, no,
guy
this
in
is,
that study that wanted to get electrocuted 80 plus times. He couldn't take it
yeah.
anymore. Silence was just too much. To sit in a room without your phone, you would get electrocuted. So some people were just getting it a few times, and one guy was like, just fucking give me the juice. I want this electric stuff in my body. Yeah.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. Like, there's kids that commit suicide because their parents erased their World of Warcraft avatars, right? Or like, this is literally their relationships, their connections. Like, even you, right? Imagine like you lose your ability to connect with your parents or with your businesses, or like most people now are playing a computer game on their phones or their computers. If that's taken away from them, there's not really like, there's not that much else to do. And I have seen this in my life. A lot of my reputation over the years organically has come out of my crazy stories around the world. And I realized that the moment smartphones entered my life, at least 50% of the frequency of those stories vanished. These things still happen, but that was a very dramatic inflection point. Before smartphones, I was going crazy. I was like, I need to do stuff. I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take crazy risks. I'm gonna do stupid things. I remember before I had Google Maps and I would travel, I would set up a vague destination, and then I use a compass, and it would take me hours, and I wouldn't even get there, but I would get somewhere else better. Every day would be an adventure. Well, now, no. Now it's very much more. Now I have to be even more creative, even more crazy things. But a lot of the times I can't be bothered because I'm just gonna go on Tinder or I'm just gonna talk to someone. Then I don't feel lonely anymore. I don't need to, fuck shit up. And that is becoming more and more the case. People prefer to go on Instagram to learn any kind of sports or do anything remarkable. Because also, what we see on the devices is too good. You can't compete. Your life will never look as good as what you're consuming on that device. It's almost impossible. Like, you can't compete with Netflix. You can't compete with the best of the best on Instagram. You're always shitter than that. So at that point, you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be a consumer.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and so this is getting worse. Like, children are becoming far less adventurous now because they can just get it all there. In fact, even promiscuity is collapsing. People are not having as much sex anymore. Young people are having less sex, not more, which is crazy. Like, a lot less sex. Because they're stuck on using internet stuff. When dating apps arrived, there was like an explosion because before people were very socially awkward. They still are. They're like, I can just swipe left and right. But that has corrected a lot over the last 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5, where it's been collapsing and plateauing, where people are not even really engaging much with the dating apps. And in fact, especially the women have learned that they're gonna find the best of the best on the dating apps. They are swiping left to 99% of people, and they're swiping right only on like 5% of the men on the dating apps are getting 95% of the sex. So it's warping everything, and it's just becoming too hard. And even in clubs, people don't make out anymore or finger each other in the club in the corner, or that kind of stuff is collapsing because, again, there's cameras everywhere. So people are afraid of being captured, or they're gonna go on this or that. Like 15 years ago, nobody would have known. Maybe some word of mouth. Somebody would have spoken, but who cares? Now, once online, always online. People are scared, right? So they're not even like becoming more and more prude. So people are just like, okay, I'm just gonna do the thing online. And so the repercussions are very diverse and strange. And in terms of authenticity or making money in a cool, creative way, there's going to be like a small subset that's going to make use of all of these technologies. They're going to become richer and richer and cooler. But the vast majority is not going to be able to bridge that gap. It's too hard. It's too hard.
How do you see this play out? Like, this is gonna get more and more like, let's say, the gap between the people that are creating things that are able to keep up with the AI. Let's say they catch the wave at the right time, and they start learning about prompts, and they start learning about different things, and they ride the wave, and they get wealthier and wealthier. And the other people, majority of people, they only consume, and they are okay because society has changed so much that it's becoming normal. This it's not so strange now to spend 10 hours, 12 hours on your phone. If you are working from your phone, you're going to spend all day on your phone. If you're going to go to a job where you have a laptop and you're standing in front of another screen, it's okay to spend 14 hours in front of a screen. So that's becoming more normalized and more normalized, and people like you said, will go on less adventures, and their vacations will probably be in the places where they see the thing as advertised, and they're gonna be there and just stay in the five-star resort, and then they're gonna come back. So how do you see this play out? Is this is this a world where we have a spectrum of people, and some of them are going to be like, fuck this, man, I'm going back to my grandparents house in the countryside, and I'm not going to be part of this, and I'm going to plant my own food, and I'm going to live a healthy life? I think that we're going to have this kind of people, and everything in between to the other side, where it's people that want to be always plugged in. They're going to play the games, they're going to be in VR, they're going to be in AR, like augmented reality. So they're going to take part in different interactions and so on, but they love it so much that this is their life. It's they're probably going to have an artificial girlfriend. They're probably going to have a virtual reality family. They're going to have all these things that give them happiness, but it's all very artificial. It's all very AI and technology created. And I see this as a spectrum, not as a choice of A and B, but as people. I see people choosing something in between these lines.
Yeah, yeah. I think the world is becoming more and more polarized and very a lot of extremes. But in a way, it's been like that for a while. Like the 1% has been the 1%, and the rest has been the rest. A little bit like the philosophies of like Kiyosaki, like poor dad, rich dad. You know, there's always been like a split in the mentality of the masses versus that of the creators or the wealthy people. But this is now taken to the extreme where we are going to see like very different lifestyles being playing out, and they're both going to accelerate. Like now, the ultra successful people, in a way, are all obsessed with digital work. And we see this even in the with the influences of today. Like Hormozy is always talking about he works all the time. He's in the gym or in front of a computer. That's or is speaking on some kind of camera, again plugged into some tech. Andrew Tate is very happy to be in home detention, just on his computer or phone, drinking
Yeah.
coffee, and 10 hours a day on his phone. He boasts about the fact that he's constantly on his phone. So this is a lot the case for the people that are making the most money, is that they're not using, the tendency is not to use the leverage of the AI to do more work with less engagement. No, they're just going to be like, I can do more and I'll do more and more and more. This is the Jevons paradox, where if
Oh yeah, tell them
fuel,
about this paradox. Tell them about the car, the car example.
so something that is mind blowing is that there is a certain algorithm in the brain that makes humans unstoppable. There is an outcome, which is that of creating leverage, money, or experiences. And then there's all of the things that lead to the supply chain of that. Whenever any of the nodes of the supply chain become more efficient, the person is not happy with the extra time. No, they're going to put even more effort in it to get even more output. Like a certain type of inbuilt greed, where, for example, if the price of fuel goes down, people don't save the money and spend it on food.
Groceries. Yeah.
No, they just drive more, to the extent that people end up spending even more on fuel, paradoxically, because they're just like, I'm gonna go on I'm gonna work triple as long. I'm gonna drive here. I'm gonna go there. They just become like completely intoxicated with the opportunity to do that. Also because it's inbuilt in our nature. If our neighbor makes use of that, it becomes more competitive than us. So there is a certain greed that is derived by desire, but also survival is kicking in. It says if I don't do it, my competitor is going to do it, and so then is going to just destroy me. So the two things together mean that everybody is just accelerating according to technology, but our bodies and mind are still, they're not really changing, not that fast. So that's an issue. And that's why with the internet now, people are just working more than before. Everybody's working far more than before, to the point that there's even studies tracing back to the Middle Ages, where the peasants back then, I've said in many of my talks, worked a fraction of the people working today. They had less resources, but they could still eat. They had a house, but for like 6 months a year, they were not working. Not 6 weeks, 6 months. And they were just praying, telling stories, walking. They weren't like, they're going to church. Like, these are the things. While now, people can work from their bedroom. They don't even need an office. Before, people needed an office. There were staff there. There was coordination. If you were out of the office, you could not do anything. You could not work. If you were out of the factory, you were, human. So when you left work, you were just like, and even the company owners could not really do much. Once the company is closed down and is switched off, there's no workers, there's no emails. Yeah, they could just stay in and work out things, but it wasn't as easy back then. You had to switch off more, even you, because there was just too much dependency on human resources and stuff. And now people can work 24/7 if they want to, or they can delegate everything to the bots or the AIs. However, there's other people that are doing just that. So then there is the tendency to stress again about, have I automated the right way? Have I optimized the automation well enough? Or is my automation getting disrupted by my competitor? We're getting to a point that we can't even benefit from the automation because we're becoming so paranoid about everyone else automating as well.
How long? How long will this go on until the bubble bursts?
I
Until
guess
how long can we optimize? How much more can we optimize?
like, for example, if you are a stripper, you'll be good until the end of time. I don't think robots are going to disrupt strippers anytime soon. Maybe at that point, the civilization will be over.
But we will have very like the porn and things that you can have in virtual reality that can be a lot better than any stripper, and it's going to be all AI generated.
This is what I'm saying. At that point, civilization will be over. At that point, things will become so absurd that there could probably be, at that point, wars, and shit is just going to crumble. We're going to need incubators to make kids. Like, the third world is going to collapse because there's not going to be any kind of industry there other than mining. It's a world that we can't even, it's really crazy. So I think that's going to take decades. But even, I would say, within 10 years, there will be increasingly crazy shit happening. Also because of the geopolitical implication. Now, technology is becoming too good for its own good. Most countries are going to gain access to weapons of mass destruction. The moment you have a drone that costs $50, you can have 1,000,000 drones. If one drone equals one person dead because with AI is going to target one person, it's as good as a nuclear bomb. So this is an issue that people don't understand, is that AI is also going to democratize weapons of mass destruction. That means that we are not going to be able to contain India versus China, Ethiopia versus Eritrea, all of these regional conflicts. And this is not even affecting us. Imagine those that are affecting us. So the more AI happens, the less we need the third world. The less we need the third world, the more the third world becomes destabilized. More destabilized means more regional conflicts, and then more migrant flows into the West. The West, at the same time, because of AI, is making zero children, which means that their economies are becoming disrupted. Everybody is old, on benefits, on pensions. Nobody's working for it anymore. So then the politicians are tempted to open the gates to the migrants, to prop the economy up just by sheer numbers, which then destabilizes the cultures of all of these nations, which then causes things to become even more disruptive. So there is even the potential that we won't have the sci-fi utopia that we were thinking about, but we may have like the Blade Runner shit show, where everything is mixed, there's no real one culture, and there's wars all the time, and so it's not that simple. And I think this is why there's people like Mark Zuckerberg that are literally hiding on an island with water all around in bunkers. They're not stupid. This is why, Bill Gates is buying land. Well, you can't disrupt land. AI will never be able to replace land. The metaverse is still not the same as a piece of land. So there's all of these things that are going to become very relevant. And soon enough, like now, we see this even in terms of like financial inequality. All of the progress is yielding income that is only benefiting the creators. Eventually, the bottom sector is going to revolt. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. The cycles has been the same all throughout history. At some point, the people become so pissed off that something is going to happen. And I can't quite predict what that will be, but then we'll need like universal basic income and all of this. But then UBI in itself is messed up because we can't decide what's basic. As soon
Yeah,
as
and
you give
it's
people,
also not universal, it's country based usually when people think about the universal part. So US is going to have a different universal basic income than Ghana.
precisely, and this is going to incentivize Ghanese people to go to the US because they don't have to do anything other than being. It's hard to disrupt that, right? You just have to be there. So it's too good to be true. So then that will undermine the foundations of the country in itself. So this is far more complex than web designers are going to lose their jobs. Like this is very complex and very messed up. And there's going to be people that will thrive. How? That's the matter of long debates. And like things like personal brands are going to become very, very important, because if whatever it is that you make gets disrupted by another company, you're gone. If they instead attach it to you, to your belief system, to your morality, to all the stuff, they're just going to want it from you. That's it.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big believer in this. I think this is the way we're going to go. I remember Gary Vaynerchuk was saying that we should all act as media companies, and he was saying this like a while ago, like 6 years ago, and it's becoming true. If you don't care about your personal brand, if you don't tell the story of who you are, somebody will tell that story for you. And if you are a bad actor, if you do some bad stuff, or you are negligent, or people give you reviews publicly about how you do your work, I think that will affect you long term. That's going to be like a stigma. That's going to be like something that will stay with your profile, with who you are on the interwebs.
100%. So things are going to become very strange. And in-person interactions are going to become increasingly more valuable. Like forever, it was all about using the internet. However, you still know when you have someone in front of you or a machine. So then eventually, the way you can show up in person is also going to become increasingly more valuable, because people are not going to really know. You can even clone yourself, like record yourself for like a week, and then an AI eats it, and you can just be like, my digital avatar, say this, say that, do a moonwalk, do backflips, without you having to learn anything. But then when you show up in person, that's going to get a very different quality. So when people become completely jaded to the internet, because everybody can do everything, everything is a deep fake, everything is possible, then the few that can actually show up in person powerfully and well are going to get a massive edge. So this is why I actually expect things like theaters and whatnot, and in-person interactions to become increasingly more valuable. Not necessarily more used, but more valuable. They're all going to become luxury goods. So this is another incentive for people to kind of go backwards and take care of the basics of being like a good person in person, because nobody's really going to trust anything online very soon.
Um, yeah, I heard Yuval Noah Harari say that even if people will revolt, they will want revolution, they will want to change things, the people in charge are already going to be using AI. So the people that are revolting, they're useless. Before, hundreds of years ago, if people were going out and saying, we don't want to work the land anymore, uh, this is the slavery, this is not okay, we want more money, and so on, the ruler of the land would say, calm down, calm down, calm down. I need you guys. I cannot kill you. So here is a little bit more money. Now,
Yeah,
when we have AI, this problem kind of changes, because people revolt and they're like, no, we want more money. And the ruler of the land looks at the AI and says, "Mm, I don't know, guys, because I don't really need you. So maybe you die."
yeah. The issue with that, and I know that it's basically labor has been made redundant. Like human labor has become useless. So the value is more in humans being consumers now, and just keeping the machine going, and then maybe some specialists that can somehow bring something to the table. However, there is still the issue that we live in cities. Cities, there are millions of people. millions of pissed off people will cause a lot of damage. Even if the rulers say, I don't need you, they can still storm the building and kill everyone. They can still torch the streets. They can still destroy stuff. This is what I'm saying. Like, when you bring things to the extreme, certain fundamental laws of nature come back with a vengeance, and violence becomes relevant again. Like, if that ruler says, I'm just going to kill the people, at that point you literally have like a civil war. At that point everything is going to collapse. That's crazy, right? So civil unrest will always be a thing. Like, until you have things like the Neuralink, where you can press a button and disable everyone. This is why I think it's the most retarded of idea. Having a chip in your brain means that the chip can also explode anytime. You just need the right bandwidth of a magnetic
Hacker.
wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like, you just need a very strong magnetic force. Like, they tell you not to go into an MRI machine with stuff. Yeah, with the right wave, you can just make anything electric become very hot or move very you have in your brain. Yeah, then you can just kill everyone using that. But until we have that kind of like transhumanistic change in people, it's still very messy. Then in a country like the US, where everybody has weapons, but you don't even need guns, right? When you are really pissed off, yeah, you can
You make
just
guns.
really you make guns. You can 3D print guns at that point. Like, that's another issue, is that drones becoming very easy to make, very cheap. Things like automation and machines will democratize even making weapons. Like, if you can 3D print guns and make explosives from obscure chemicals, because you can just have a chemical chat GPT saying, hey, I have mayonnaise, vinegar, and condoms.
Yeah.
Give me a way to make it explosive. On an
MacGyver
ultra
GPT.
uh,
MacGyver GPT. You remember
MacGyver GPT,
MacGyver?
of course, of course. And there is always a way. We haven't really discovered it, but a super intelligent AI will be able to tell people how to make weapons out of normal stuff. And then, like, how do you control that?
What do you think about the way the intelligence of AI is growing? And I remember another talk that you gave at Baby Bathwater a while ago. Maybe it was 2018 or 19. It was also about AI. And you were talking about how even if all this intelligence is growing exponentially, it still doesn't understand nature. It's still not there with like a flower blooms. It's still not there with our real world. Like, it can beat somebody at chess, at go, at any game, but that's just because it has uh, parameters. Like, it's in its own world. But when you try to take it into our world, like consciousness and the nature and the existence in itself, it's nowhere near. What do you think about this now, and how do you see this progress in time?
It's not, yeah, this is becoming, it's being put more and more under doubt, because these AIs are starting to learn a little bit too much, so that they're starting to have emergent behaviors. Like, there is, especially the large language models that are just learning anything that is online, are starting to be able to do stuff that we never trained them to do. like give them I don't know, a Chinese joke and ask why it's funny, and or yeah, asking them strange stuff like how to make a hybrid of this and this other fruit, something that is not even available online, starts to learn how to do it. So there is the risk. Also, there is the problem that we are having the Internet of Things available. There's washing machines with attached to the internet. There's lawnmowers. There's beds. There's blenders. All of this stuff is capturing data from the world that we don't even really understand. And all of that data can be fed into an AI that is just going to start understanding the world in a way that we can't even know why. Because data is coming from millions of sources, from all of these sensors, on all of these devices, from all over the world, that they're all learning from us what we are doing and what the world is doing, and they don't die like we do every. Tesla is dead, we've lost so much. These machines don't die, so they just keep getting better and better and better. So then there is a chance that they'll just become so good at everything, even if they don't understand nature, they'll still understand us better than we understand ourselves. So then it will always be better to ask a computer what to do than ask each other, because we won't really know. And because of that, then yeah, I mean, I don't know what we have left, because it doesn't matter whether a tiger is more or less intelligent than you, it's still going to kill you, and then the conversation ends there. If AI will become so good that at that point the AI is going to question whether we really have consciousness at that point, or we are just lumps of flesh just moving. And even if we have two different types of intelligence or consciousness, it's going to be irrelevant, because task by task, they're just going to be good, as good or better. So that's a tricky one. And so that's why I mean, at some point, it's not even about intelligence, and it's about power. It's about like how much power we're going to give them. The power to change the world, the power to buy things, to sell things, to own things, to have currency. Yeah,
This guy
this is
go
why.
this guy go Mo he's saying that the genie is already out of the lamp because we did two things. One, we allowed AI to connect to the internet, so it's everywhere now.
Yeah,
And the second thing we did was allow AI to create AI. So it can improve itself all the time and create better versions of itself. So it's not just you kill this AI and that's it, we exterminate. There's always the possibility that it created another version that it's somewhere on a server, and that becomes the thing. So he says we have to turn off the internet if we.
it's just like Bitcoin. It's
Yeah.
just like Bitcoin.
Mhm.
So as long as there is a computer somewhere, there can be a piece of AI there.
Yeah.
And we are so dependent on the internet that, like, if you switch the internet off from a city, give it a few hours and there will be violence happen.
Yeah.
So we're completely codependent with this thing.
Yeah.
And so I agree the genie is out of the bottle. Now it's more a matter of managing the genie somehow, because that can still be done in a way, still now, there are ways to block it through law, but up to a point. Because my fear is that this will translate all the way down to the military. So the countries that are going to have more control over it, they're going to have more power. And more power to do anything they want. It's not just about drones. What if you hack a nuclear plant? Then you have a bomb right there. You don't even need a bomb. You just need a power station of your enemy, and you make it explode. And it doesn't even need to be a nuclear plant. It could be a chemical factory. You just change the settings, and now there's chlorine being released in the air, killing thousands of people. It can be anything. It can be a train just going the wrong way. Like everything becomes a weapon with the right AI.
What do you have any vision of the future? Any sense that this can go utopic?
It will go utopic for some people. What I'm trying to understand is who those people will be and how to become one of them. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure it will be very easy, because I'm not sure whether that will become accessible easily at some point. Because if only OpenAI knows how to control this or that, unless you work at OpenAI or you are part of the board, you may just have to be one of the others. So I am not sure there will always be a democratic way to jump. So yeah, I'm keeping my eyes open. And I'm also trying to go back to the basics of making my body as healthy as possible, my mind as sharp as possible, my relationships as good as possible. I think at some point, as I said, when shit becomes very intense, the very basic things become very important again. Like who your friends are, how healthy you are, how much you can get your own food, find your own food, like the preppers stuff, but maybe not as crude, but a version of that. And yeah, so you have to be pragmatic, not just do that. Otherwise, you live in fear all your life and you become like a caveman. And maybe this is not as crazy as I'm imagining, but some shit is going to happen inevitably. Like we went from being able to fly to apparently having someone on the moon in 65 years. That's just insane. So imagine it's just having the illusion that things are just not going to change. So a lot very naive. It's very naive.
Yes, it is. I believe so too. One of my utopian ideas is to live a life that, like you mentioned, the only difference is that I would have the machines do all the things. Like they would be the farmers, they would be the chef, they would the all everything would be taken care of around me by these machines. That's how I see it. And we will still be drinking tea, and we will be thinking about how to, I don't know, uh, do something good or enjoy ourselves, let's say. Um, that's the way I see it. That's the way I think we can coexist with AI and these technologies. By the way, people in the chat in that are listening, this is a good time to tell you that you can also ask questions. You can put them in the chat. You can contribute to the conversation. You can tell us what you think, and if you have any questions for Jack, because it's a rare opportunity to bring Jack in a format like this. and why not take advantage of this opportunity? Yes. Uh, yeah, Zoli says that my mind is blown by these insights. And Adelina was saying that this explains the current mental health epidemic across the world. Yes, and also the loneliness epidemic around the world. We are more connected, but more lonely. Yeah, I also I'm seeing similar things. I'm doing my best to keep positive about this and to see how I can keep up with this wave.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways. The closer you are to being part of the supply chain of AI, maybe the better. You know, if you're involved in robotics, things are only going to get better. If you are involved in materials, also cannot be disrupted. People are still going to need stuff to be made. So if you are part of the extraction industries, like not everything can be done by robots. They will still need some kind of oversight. Maybe there will still be the need for human owners for things. So there's that. There are ways to kind of ride the wave. Uh,
My plan is to be part of the education. So I think if we adjust to the new world, we will need to learn how to use AI. And like you said, right now it's prompts. I don't know if we're going to have prompts the whole time, but there's going to be um, a separation, a thing that you would need to be able to learn about AI, at least for the next few years that I see it. And Einstein is an educational platform, and I plan to bring a lot of courses on Einstein. First, I thought it's about freedom because that's what I'm interested in. But then I decided that this is just a limitation of mine. People can learn something and get a better job. They can change their job because of the things they learn. They can develop a new passion. There's so many things you can do now with AI, and I don't want to limit it based on my desires, the way what I want for myself and what I want for people around me. So I already connected with people that are doing amazing shit, amazing cool stuff with AI, and it's coming. It's coming. Yes, all under the same umbrella, so people can recognize the brand and they can put in their
so
mind that Einstein. Yeah.
Einstein is like some kind of YouTube or like Kajabi
No,
or
no. I mean, it will be a kind of Kajabi. It will be a kind of uh, platform portal where you go and you pick your teacher and you pick whatever subject you want, and the, the the thing is moving. So right now it's kind of old school where you still have courses, but we will be able to integrate AI in this. So based on your profile, it will teach you things that you don't yet know exactly. So it's personalized, it's highly personalized to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I think is going to be at least a thing for the next years.
yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, education will always be relevant in some ways, and entertainment at least will be always irrelevant. So
Andre is asking how religion will be seen after these changes.
yeah, I think that in some ways religions are going to become probably more important than ever, just because technology is having such radical side effects on the mind that mental health is spiraling so hard that people are just going to be like, I need something to believe in. I can't just, TikTok is destroying my soul. And I'm just lost in a sea of adverts and products, and eventually people are going to be like, hey, I need something stable, something beyond all of this, something I can trust. And religions have kept people together under some kind of point of reference for a very long time. They work. People find safety in those bubbles. And so, in many ways, the internet is making people either completely nihilistic or ultra religious. And an army of people that deeply believe in God against an army of atheists will always win. Will always win. Because also the atheists don't really have much to fight for. Because then they default to themselves. Because the atheists don't even really have a strong nationalistic sense. An exception is China. They've managed to be ultra nationalist while being atheist. But that is the only example. Everywhere else in the world, a lack of religion usually means that people are less motivated to fight. And this will eventually cause issues. This is why Islam is infiltrating everywhere in Europe, because the Western people are just not motivated enough to do anything about it. They're just going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to buy stuff and feel good, eat and drink sometimes, while the Muslims are like, it's the Quran or nothing. We're gonna die for this. We're like, they're so like indoctrinated. It's impossible to compete with them unless you make them illegal. There's no other way. They will always displace any population they find themselves in, because they have that religion to make them make more children and replace the population. It's literally in the Quran. So if you don't have something like the Quran, you're done. It's just a matter of time.
Zoli says it's like an overall glimpse of humanity and the world, looking down the canyon and up to the other side, searching for a bridge, how to build bridges. Ciprian is saying, I think what you're saying is very depressing, and you forgot about God in this conversation. Have a little more faith, people. We just talked about God.
Yeah, but
uh,
I just
yeah. Um, Andre is saying, will the West become more dangerous than the East in terms of life security? Is this the downfall of the West or just a transition to another phase?
it will be a transition. Like ultimately, there will be jurisdictions that will learn. Like for example, Poland and Hungary are still super safe and pretty stable, but they had to implement policies that are looked down upon by the rest of the world. They've sealed the nations, they are promoting certain values, they are trying to provide the things that religion provides by law. And it works, but they are just branded as fascist countries or whatever. But there are nations that, just like those, will learn that a lot of the world is just corrupting itself into destruction. Like the US now is literally crumbling. You go into most US cities and it is like a social experiment. homeless people everywhere. They are destroying the borders. They are letting people in just to influence a vote. Like, to counter something like that, you will need specific policies, and some nations are doing them. And those nations are still relatively clean and nice and well run. So it's not necessarily doomed. But so this is why people need to have as much, they need to be astute with how they manage their geographical freedom, because nations will change very rapidly. The way the UK has changed in the last 30 years is mind blowing. It's mind blowing. London now is 35% English. 35. So what it was 95% in the 80s. 95%. From 95% to 35 in what? Just a few years? This is happening, right now. So then, yeah, you need to be able to either one, fight for your country, or move to another one that seems to have understood some things, hoping that they will accept it, because that's not necessarily the case. But if you understand this specific phenomena, you can thrive. Like, my life personally keeps getting better, not worse, just keeps getting better on almost every metric, until my body will get older and there will be problems there. But everything else keeps improving. So clearly, things can be done. But at the society level, things are going to get messy for sure. But I'm not personally, I'm not like, no, I'm understanding a couple of things, and they are paying massive dividends. But one needs to learn a different kind of game.
Okay, I'm gonna go to another question. It was actually just uh, to read what Sebi also said. He said, "For me, from such discussions that lead me into the darkness, it seems that it is more easy to see the light at the end of the tunnel." And then Colleen asks Jack, "How can you keep your mind straight and find peace of mind while keep staying creative in a world of endless possibilities? Of course, without going totally cuckoo."
I occasionally do go cuckoo, and there are some times in which, because I also am not in one place, just working this out all the time. My job and my passion is to go all around the world, trying the craziest things and altered states of consciousness, drugs, and occasionally I lose it myself. But I'm doing all of this because I find it fun. So there's meaning in that. And it's also making my life more powerful by understanding some of the things I've been talking about here. Once you understand that the world is pretty ruthless out there, it always was. Things have not changed in the last 50, 70 years. The world is still ruthless. You just need to understand certain things, and then you can operate in that world. So peace of mind, it's a tricky one. There are techniques that help you, like meditation, like specific diets. Taking care of your gut microbiome will keep your mind more straight. Forms of exercise, being surrounded by the right kind of people, and that is its own rabbit hole. Having some certainty that you won't be completely poor. You don't need to have certainty that you'll be mega rich, but that you can kind of weave through the cracks and kind of be abundant enough. Basically, you need to take care of all of these bits and pieces as much as possible, and that will translate into peace of mind. There is, at the cellular level, with the right practices, with the right health, then at the level of mental health, and also creating a certain type of reputation, a certain type of status in the world that doesn't need to be just about money, but also about the way you show up, your generosity, the way you love. Like it gets very complex. But the most important thing is that one needs to be very fast and very adaptive, because the rules, certain things are basic and they will always be like that. You always need to drink water and eat food. I don't see this really being disrupted. But other things need to be completely rewired, like the understanding of some of the things I've talked about, and being as flexible and as free in terms of how you spend your time, location, and energy and focus, and things like attention. Like you need to be able to train your attention, because now it's an all out war for people's attention. So if you don't have enough attachment to your own attention, you're basically already done. Like one of the things that, like the incidence of ADHD is exploding to the point that people don't even have the right focus to read a book about ADHD. They're so ADHD that they can't even read a book about ADHD. It means that they're stuck, they're done. At that point, there's no way out. You see what I mean? If you don't even have enough attention to spend a few minutes to take yourself out of your hole, then at that point you've become a drone. There's no hope. So training attention is very important. This is why I did things like Vipassana. This is why I try to meditate as much as possible. That's why I have long walks without phones. There's all this, an endless list of things one can do. I try to do as many as possible of them. And yeah, like, and then trying to understand how to be irreplaceable, how to have ideas that are powerful, that are novel, that they work, that they are real. And that is a mix of learning from books and videos and whatnot, and also putting yourself in situations that consolidate that into wisdom. And that is not easy, but it works.
So Sergio says, welcome to Moldova. Luxembourg is best in GPT. Moldova is best in soul health. Delia says, thank you very much. All the information is very valuable and shows us as a perspective that many of us intentionally ignore. Now we can be more responsible. And Ciprian is a believer and says, exercise faith in God for peace of mind. Faith means having belief when you cannot see the light, because if we can see it, we don't need to believe it. We just see it. And our mind, certainly my mind, cannot comprehend what is going on, what is happening. It will try to find safety, but it is just too small. So you just need to trust that you can adapt. Have faith in God and trust you will have what you need when you need it. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I just said. This is why religion is going to become more and more important. All this shit is just overwhelming. People need something to believe in, at least for some peace of mind. And religions are very good at that.
Uh, yes. So I think we covered everything. We covered how to make money, how to become successful, how to rule over the AI, and that's it. We're just going to live in utopia from now on. I I see we've made all the ways lead to the same answer. Utopia. Utopia coming to you soon. Uh Andre says, can we avoid the disappearance of cash flow?
You mean digital
Yeah.
money?
I mean, maybe cash. Yeah. Means, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. A lot of countries are trying to get rid of cash. If that's what Andre means, a physical cash. But Yeah, I don't know. I if people Yeah, that's a hard one because people are starting to lose awareness of what cash means. They are trusting the cashless system a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And things like Bitcoin have not actually helped in that sense. Because also Bitcoin is not that private. People can follow the ledger and know. It's just nobody has done it. But government have the power to block, yeah, addresses, or and AI is going to help them even more to find. So it's a bit of an illusion that people can use cryptocurrencies to regain full anonymity. So yeah, the moment cash disappears, some shit is going to go down. But I don't know. I don't know because
What about
also
money
politicians.
altogether? What about money, the monetary system? Do you think it has a life or it will go in the next 10 years?
No, no, that's impossible. There will always be a need for it because the ruling classes need it themselves. So it's not in their interests to. Also, it's a very good lie to tell people so that they think they have power. If you tell them there's no money altogether, fuck, it's civil war guaranteed. People are gonna be like, "What? No money? Like, what are we gonna do?" Right? Then just violence remains. Yeah, no way. Money will always be there, even 100 years from now. Just what that will look like, I'm not sure.
Okay, just reading the last comments here. We Sergio says, if we lose the money, we lose our freedom. We can be free, but we are like in person if we set up an area for spending. Yes. And with that bombshell, we shall conclude our probe into Jack mind. And we and I am very grateful for this. We have I love this conversation. I love the exploration of what is to come and to have different perspectives, one more religious than other, one more with faith. Ciprian says, when we trust each other, there is no need for money. There is a long way to that. Yes. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um yeah, maybe we'll do an episode 2 at some point. This was very different than what I anticipated to be. I thought we will go uh, deeper into some things that we talked about at Baby Bathwater, but I think in a way this is exactly what was needed for now, because we touched on so many subjects, and I think this can give people a different, a much broader understanding of what is to come. Yes. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you
Cheers,
very much,
Alex.
Jack. Thank you very
Big
much,
love.
everybody that joined us. Jack, any deep last words?
For me,
Famous last words.
well, thank you very much for spending the time here. How many of you is it? Like,
Oh, it's 30 people that were with us, and
cool,
yeah, this will be posted in our community, so more people will see it from there.
nice. Well,
Yeah,
thank you for caring about these things and having this conversation. And hopefully, yeah, you'll be a little bit more prepared, a little bit about these things. And yeah, you have a fantastic day.
ah, ciao bello.
Ciao, ciao.